Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines. The priority of talks between Iran and the United States this week in Istanbul is to avoid any conflict and de-escalate tensions between the two sides. A regional official said that a group of regional powers were also invited, adding that some of the countries invited to the talks at the foreign ministers level included Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates. The person said the main meeting would be on Friday and that it was important to start dialogue between the parties to avoid further escalation. A senior UAE advisor said the Middle East does not need another US-Iran confrontation, calling for direct negotiations to reach a long-term nuclear deal. Speaking in Dubai, Anwar Gargash warned against escalation as Washington deploys warships and Iran resumes talks with US officials in Turkey. He also dismissed criticism of the UAE's role in Yemen and Sudan as exaggerated online campaigns. US President Donald Trump confirms talks with Iran following Tehran's announcement that it is ready to negotiate if discussions avoid threats and unreasonable expectations. Iranian President Massoud said talks should protect national interests, while Tehran's foreign ministry emphasized fairness and transparency. Trump highlighted both military preparedness and diplomatic dialogue, with ships deployed to the region as negotiations proceed. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi reiterates that Iran is willing to resume dialogue, emphasizing fairness and respect for Iran's sovereignty and defense programs. Meanwhile, Iran's Armed Forces Chief of Staff, Abdul Rahim Mousavi, said Tehran is fully prepared to retaliate against any military provocations that violate its sovereignty. Mousavi warned that Iran's response would be swift and decisive, dismissing claims that the country is weak. India has agreed to purchase petroleum, defense equipment, aircraft, and other US products in a trade deal worth over $500 billion, aiming to strengthen economic ties and reduce the bilateral trade deficit. As part of the agreement, the US will cut tariffs on Indian goods from 25% to 18%, while India will halt Russian oil purchases and reduce trade barriers. The deal covers energy, technology, agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and defense, signaling deeper strategic and economic cooperation between the two nations. Meanwhile, the Kremlin says it has heard no statements from India about halting purchases of Russian oil after US President Donald Trump said New Delhi had agreed to stop such purchases as part of a trade accord with Washington. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Russia was carefully analyzing Trump's remarks on relations with India. Asked directly if India had decided to stop buying Russian oil, Peskov said, "So far, Moscow has not heard any statements from Delhi on this issue." Chinese President Xi Jinping calls for China and Uruguay to work together to advance an equal and orderly multipolar world during talks with Uruguayan President Yamandu Orsi in Beijing, according to officials. Xi said the two nations should promote inclusive economic globalization, benefiting all, signaling Beijing's ambition to expand its influence and support a global order beyond a single dominant power. The leaders also signed cooperation agreements to deepen strategic partnership in areas like trade, science, and environmental cooperation. Orsi's visit, the first by a South American leader to Beijing since a US operation in Venezuela in January, aims to strengthen Uruguay's global standing, attract investment, and boost development, with a delegation of about 150 officials and business figures. Ukraine has reportedly agreed with Western allies that persistent Russian violations of a future ceasefire would trigger a coordinated military response from Europe and the United States, the Financial Times reported on Tuesday, citing officials familiar with the discussions. Reuters could not immediately verify the report. The multi-tiered plan, discussed in December and January, would see breaches of an agreed armistice addressed in stages. Initial responses would involve diplomatic warnings and Ukrainian military action action to halt violations. If hostilities persisted, intervention would expand to a coalition of willing nations, including EU members, the UK, Norway, Iceland, and Turkey. An escalated Russian attack would trigger a full Western-backed response, including US forces, within 72 hours. Envoys from Kiev, Moscow, and Washington are scheduled to meet in Abu Dhabi on Wednesday and Thursday to pursue talks aimed at ending the conflict.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia has ignored ongoing US peace efforts by attacking Ukraine's energy sector overnight. Speaking alongside NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte, Zelensky said Kyiv would consult Washington on possible consequences for Russia. He said the talks also covered urgent air defense supplies and licenses to produce US weapons in Europe, but gave no details on outcomes. Spain Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has said that the country plans to ban access to social media for minors under 16, and platforms will be required to implement age verification systems as he announces several measures to guarantee a safe digital environment. Sánchez's left-wing coalition government has repeatedly complained about the proliferation of hate speech, pornographic content, and disinformation on social media, saying it had negative effects on young people. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.